What up, everybody? It's the Alex Leak and Friends NFL podcast back for another week. It's the 2018 offseason, week number 7. I got Gavin Heslop in Oregon,
Hello.
and I got David Stoyo in Canada.
Hey,
All right, we got some breaking news that happened tonight. The Patriots trade wide receiver Brandin Cooks and a fourth-round pick to the Rams for the 23rd overall pick and a sixth-round pick. Cooks caught 65 passes for 1,082 yards and 7 touchdowns in 2017 with New England. And the Rams add another weapon for quarterback Jared Goff. The Rams appear to be going all in for this season, giving up draft picks in an attempt to win this year. With this trade, the Patriots now have 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks going into the 2018 draft. Stoyo, who would you say wins this trade?
I'm gonna have to say the Rams.
Yeah.
They got a good weapon after losing Sammy Watkins. He's definitely a first number one receiver.
Mm-hmm.
He's giving his team a lot of options. He's fast. He had a good season last season. I don't know why he keeps being traded. I thought Belichick would keep him at least a few more years, especially since they spent a first-round pick on him last year. I would also like to point out that it doesn't take 100 or so catches to break 1,000 yards. You can establish that with 65.
That's true.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm quite shocked because that kind of means that Gronk is going to be back in New England.
Yeah, that's what it could be meaning, but also the Patriots have lost a lot of pieces, and um, to the response on the receiving yards, I'll say with Tom Brady, all things are possible. So, um, Gavin, what do you think of this trade?
I think it's a little questionable for the Patriots to get rid of one of their best starting receiver from this last year. I know that they're planning on getting Julian Edelman back, but he's a year out of football. You never know quite how a player is going to return, and so now their best wide receiver from this last year is no longer on their team. They also lost Danny Amendola, so you're wondering who Brady's going to be throwing to this year. You can assume that they'll be using a draft choice, but the Rams, I believe it was number 23 that they got, so they're picking a little bit later in the first round, so it's a little questionable. But yeah, definitely the Rams going all in, trying to win lots of one-year deals that they sign people to. On defense, trying to put something around their quarterback who is not getting paid very much money. I think they're seeing the formula for winning Super Bowls, and that's paying your quarterback next to nothing so that you can actually afford to put together a solid team around you.
Yeah, and I think it's a bit surprising, like you said. I mean, the Patriots have, in this offseason alone, the Patriots have now lost both starting tackles, running back Dion Lewis, Cooks, Amendola, and Malcolm Butler. And then going with Gronk, the Patriots have also been rumored to be interested in possibly moving on from the tight end. It all started directly after the Super Bowl when Gronk was asked about his future. He responded, quote, "I'm definitely going to look at my future. I'm going to sit down in the next couple weeks and see where I'm at." Um, well, weeks has turned into months and still no definitive decision from Gronk. A source close to head coach Bill Belichick says the Patriots could move on from Gronk, and he's rumored to possibly be headed to the Rams or the 49ers, which I'm assuming the 49ers. The Rams have got to be getting a little full of players. Um, also, according to ESPN, Belichick has been frustrated with Gronk because he's not sure whether the tight end is, quote, all in um, when it comes to football. And some recent tweets, like when Danny Amendola was moved on, Gronk wished him farewell, and apparently Bill Belichick had an issue with that tweet. Stoyo, do you think that Belichick Gronkowski rift could end up in Gronk being out of New England next year?
Absolutely. I think Gronk is tired of the Patriots way. Gronk is a fun-loving guy and loves to party, and that is definitely not how the Patriots like to play. And I think the Patriots way is getting to him, and I don't think he's going to retire. I think he loves football, but run his own way. I think he's going to get traded, but the Patriots must know something that we don't if they just give away their best wide receiver.
Yeah, exactly. That might throw a wrench in it, but we'll see what happens. I'm sure all New England fans are hoping Gronk returns for another season. Gavin, what do you make of the reported beef between Belichick and Gronk?
I don't think I think it's probably a bit overblown. We're kind of in a lull of the offseason right now, in the longest offseason in all of professional sports, and we need something to talk about. And before the Brandin Cooks trade, nothing really was going on for the last few days, so they need to talk about the only team the most polarizing team in the NFL, and that's the Patriots. And I think if Gronk does get traded, the only reason that'll happen is because they don't think that he's going to be able to stay on the field for a whole season, and they're trying to trade on his potential for a whole 16-game season. I don't think you trade somebody with that kind of talent, as someone that has that kind of rapport with your Hall of Fame quarterback, and the only reason that you're still relevant in the NFL and a title contender every year. You need to keep weapons for him. You've lost Amendola. You now have lost Cooks. I don't think they're going to get rid of Gronkowski. And his comments to Amendola, be free and be happy.
Yeah,
I'm sure that he's going to be. It's going to be less strenuous in wherever he went. Miami, is that where he went to?
Yep.
I think So it's going to be less strenuous down in Miami. The weather is going to be better, and he might be happier from the day to day. But when it comes playoff time and Amendola's watching from his couch in January, he's going to be wishing that might be wishing that he had stayed in New England, and that that's what really matters to him, is being able to play football. And for some people, maybe that's not a big a deal, but I don't think that Gronk doesn't have a passion for football or isn't in it. Every game he plays, you see him put his everything in. So I think it's fake news.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of hard to say that he's not all in when year after year Gronk puts himself out there and gets hit with big hits and plays through injury and all that. So we'll see how it all works out. The Raiders released punter Marquette King over, quote, personality issues between him and John Gruden's the one that makes the call on that, which is an interesting move because Marquette King is one of the better punters in the league. Oakland also signs wide receiver Dwayne Harris, who's also a kick return specialist. So, what do you make of the Gruden way going on in Oakland?
Well, he's going to build a team his way.
Yeah.
And he's going to have to move some players. Also, the punter had a really high salary cap.
Yeah, that could be part of it.
And the Raiders had an issue with their own salary cap, so they had to cut him. But, yeah, it's definitely interesting. He's probably a top 5 punter.
Yeah.
So,
Gavin, would you say that the Chargers have now landed their quarterback of the future? They signed backup quarterback Geno Smith.
Oh, yeah. Philip Rivers, who's getting up there in age, right there by Eli Manning. But, I think Geno Smith just needs one more year of riding the pine to be able to turn into a legitimate third-string quarterback. I think this is his year.
Yeah, and he's also a flat earther, so we'll see how that goes.
Oh.
Cardinals running back David Johnson has been fully cleared by doctors to begin off-season work. It'll be the first time Johnson has worked out with his teammates since prior to week 1 when he dislocated his wrist last season. good news for the Arizona Cardinals who could use some. Stoyo, do you expect David Johnson to be back to his Pro Bowl ways in 2018?
Yeah, definitely hope so. He's a fun running back to watch,
Yeah,
and also a great fantasy player.
yeah, definitely.
So that'd be nice to see.
Gavin,
You always want a running back to come back from injuries, especially when they're that young.
yeah, and he was such a talent when he was healthy. I hope that he's still the same player. Um, Gavin, with all the moves the Cardinals have been making, it's got to be a good sign for them to get their star running back healthy.
Yeah, definitely a good sign, especially since Bradford will not be playing by week 4, and they'll need someone that can give their new rookie quarterback some support out of the backfield. But then, in all seriousness, it's definitely always good to have that kind of dynamic talent back on the field. He's so young still. He's still got plenty of years ahead of him, and I hope that the Cardinals can bounce back this year and be a contender in the NFC West. It's always more interesting.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the Cardinals are a year or two out, but it is always nice when they're good. So we'll see how that goes. The Ravens star linebacker Terrell Suggs talks about his rivalry with the Pittsburgh Steelers and especially former wide receiver Hines Ward. Talking about one of my favorite plays in football history, Ward, most notably known for the blindside block that he put on Bengals linebacker Keith Rivers that decleated him and broke his jaw. Um, I've never seen a wide receiver lay out a linebacker like that before. That was crazy. Suggs, referring to that play, said he used to talk a bunch of trash to Hines Ward on the field. Say, quote, I swear to God, if you hit me like that, I'm getting thrown out of the fucking league. Stoyo, what do you make of Terrell Suggs talking about the old school Ravens Steelers hate?
Yeah, it's good to hear. I mean, we love rivalry in sports,
Yeah.
so it's good to have. And if I would hear Terrell Suggs tell that to me, I would probably believe him.
I'd be like, yes, sir. No, I'll leave you alone. What do you think, Gavin? You were more on the Steelers side of this, weren't you? You of the Steelers Ravens rivalry.
Yeah, I think I definitely leaned more as a Steeler fan than Raven, but that was definitely my favorite games to watch back in the late 2000s was the Steelers and Ravens play each other. If I could only watch one game a year,
Yeah.
I'd pick that one. Even over any Lions game, I'd watch those games because those were always the most interesting. The obvious hatred they had toward each other, strong run games, smash mouth defense, so exciting to watch, and not at all surprising to hear those words coming out of Terrell Suggs' mouth, particularly towards Hines Ward.
Yeah. Yep. Some great football. It's not as physical as it used to be, but the rivalry's still there. And so we look forward to watching more Steeler Ravens games as we go forward. Let's get into the draft a little bit. The draft is less than 4 weeks away, so it's time to start getting serious about that. Some news going around the league. Draft prospect quarterback Lamar Jackson has his pro day at Louisville, and once again doesn't run a 40. Jackson has also decided to represent himself through the draft process with no agent. And reportedly, NFL teams have had a difficult time getting a hold of Lamar. Seems to be a couple of questionable decisions from my point of view. But Jackson has, however, worked out for both the Chargers and the Texans. Stoyo, what do you make of Lamar Jackson not running a 40 and deciding not to hire an NFL agent?
His mom is pretty much his agent right now.
Yeah.
She's his closest advisor, and I don't know. I would have definitely hired an agent, and I would try my hardest to talk to every team that is interested, just to have your stock value go up. I don't understand why he did not run the 40.
Yeah.
He's an athletic QB, but we know he's a good runner. He's not going to be a wide receiver. but people would have liked to know how fast he actually is.
Yeah,
That's definitely interesting, and I don't know.
I don't see how his 40 time could hurt his rating, his ranking, and everyone knows he's an incredible athlete, and we all want to see him run a 40 because it would be fun to watch. Um, Usually, players sign an NFL agent. Richard Sherman didn't do it, but he's a veteran in the league, and I think as a rookie, you definitely should. Gavin, what do you make of these decisions?
I think it's really questionable to not hire an agent. Out of the top 5 quarterbacks that are, that people are talking about as first-round talents, he might be the one that has the most questions around him.
Yeah.
Just because of the type of quarterback and the type of game that he plays. So I think that not making himself available isn't helping him. But as far as the 40 goes, I completely disagree, Alex. I think that running the 40 has a really high chance of hurting him.
Really?
If his draft stock, a lot of that is based on his speed, and people are expecting, when you think of a fast player in the NFL, like if you don't run in the 4.3s or faster, like you're not fast. That's just how it is. And so if he were to run in a 4.4 even, there would be major disappointment. I think that his draft stock would take a pretty big hit. But I think that everyone knows that he's fast, and whether you put a number on it, whether it's 4.28 or a 4.32, I don't think that's just confirming what you already know. But the only way that it could help him is if he runs, a low 4.2, I think. But if he runs a 4.4 or worse, I think that his stock could take a pretty big hit. So it is weird because oftentimes you see the speed guys
want to show it off, right?
Show it off, absolutely. But I think since his draft stock is based so heavily on his athleticism and his speed, as opposed to a wide receiver or a running back where they have the vision that they see on the field, or their route running, or their hands. With someone in this case, he makes some questionable decisions on the field with his throwing, and has had some accuracy issues. And so if they're building him based on the potential, they're drafting him because of his potential that you could have the speed with some traits you could learn later. I think that it could only hurt him. Everyone already knows he's fast. So I understand that move. It is a bit perplexing, but I can see the logic behind it.
Yeah, I mean, you convinced me a little bit. I didn't think about it like this. Mike Vick, everyone compares him to Mike Vick, and Vick was so fast. And so if you run a 40 time and you don't match up as well with Vick, especially with all these comparisons, then it might hurt you. I could see that. But I would like to see it personally. I guess I want to see him run a 40 for selfish reasons.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Another quarterback, we'll talk about former UCLA head coach Jim Mora says of his former UCLA quarterback and draft prospect Josh Rosen, quote, needs to be challenged intellectually. If you can hold his concentration level and focus only on football for a few years, he will set the world on fire, end quote. These comments come after last week when Mora said if he was the Browns, he would draft Darnold number 1 overall. Stoyo, Jim Mora just keeps talking about this, and the more he talks about it, the more it's starting to sound like he's dissing his former quarterback. What do you make of Mora on his analysis of his former quarterback, Josh Rosen?
Yeah, Mora just needs to let it go. He just needs to stop talking to the media about Josh Rosen.
Yeah.
No more clarification. You're trying to say something else, and it still seems like you're dissing him. It seems to me that you weren't a huge fan of him. Yeah, he should stop talking.
Yeah, and I think that he's kind of just begun on the talking. I think that he's going to be working for NFL Network or one of these as an analyst. So I don't know. I mean, you can talk, but maybe don't talk about your former quarterback like that. I don't know. What do you make of it, Gavin?
Yeah, this is really perplexing that a former coach would say this about his former student. But the thing is, like, this is this is what we want, though. Like,
Yeah.
so often you hear coach speak,
Yep.
where it's like, oh yeah, this, my guy for sure, yeah. But you really, from these guys that know the sport better than we do, and I would say Jim Mora is one of those guys. He's been a head coach, in the NFL and at UCLA. I'd say he knows more about football than the majority of people. We want to know their honest opinions, and he's in a position now where he doesn't have to necessarily keep, praising everything UCLA related. So it's a little bit enlightening that he would say, speak in any sort of negative light on his former athlete. But, he also, was saying that he will be amazing if you can do these things. And maybe this is a legitimate, criticism of him, and that it could very well be true. I think Mora would know more than just about anybody what Rosen's going to need to be successful in the NFL. So it's strange. It's not what we hear often, but the funny thing is, I think it's what we all want, and we're just not used to it.
Yeah, and let me throw this at you. What about this possible scenario? I mean, if it's tough love Jim Mora's going for, I think it would be better not said to the media, said to Rosen, on the side, like face to face. You don't need to go through the media to do that. It creates a stir. But what about this? I remember Josh Rosen saying a while back that he wasn't super excited about the possibility of playing for the Browns. And even Ryan Leaf said recently this week that he would suggest to all these quarterbacks to stay away from Cleveland. So Rosen having those thoughts of he doesn't want to go to Cleveland, he wants to go anywhere but Cleveland. What if Jim Mora is planting the seed out there in the public to make sure that Rosen doesn't go number 1 overall in Cleveland? Do you think that's a possibility, Stoyo?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think possibly Jim Mora is upset that Josh Rosen went 9-14 the last 2 seasons, and if they did a little bit better together, he would still be coaching.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
that
think
could be
more likely.
Yeah. What do you think, Gavin?
I think you got your tinfoil hat on a little bit too tight there, Alex. I don't think that Mora would step out like that simply to increase or decrease his former players' draft stock for an unselfish reason. I don't think he'd do it for a selfish reason, even to come out and be one of the first, or at least lately, the coach that criticizes his former player.
Yeah.
And have that be the talk. It's not even so much what he said. Everyone's talking about just the fact that Mora has come out and said these things.
Mm-hmm.
And to come out in public and say that, I don't think that Mora is going to do that if he's, wanting to get a job somewhere else. Like, no student's going to want to go and be a recruit for a guy that he could go out into the media and, criticize you publicly. Like, if you can't work in college if you can't recruit people. Yeah. So no college is going to hire him, and he's not going to get an NFL job. So I don't think that he's doing this for any sort of publicity stunt reason. I think he's just being, to me, it just seems like he's being honest and just giving his honest criticism of Rosen, and we're just not used to it.
Yeah, regardless of the intent, it's a little perplexing and not something we're used to seeing. Usually head coaches don't trash their star quarterbacks on the way out, but especially heading into the draft. But we'll see how it goes. Let's do our own 2018 mock draft top 10. Let's see if we agree on some stuff, and see where these players might be heading and what our teams might be getting for upgrades. Stoyo, I'll start with you. Who do you have going number 1 overall to the Cleveland Browns?
Sam Darnold.
Yeah. You think that you think Sam Darnold has a future? Do you think that he can have turn the Browns franchise around as their star quarterback?
Personally, no.
Yeah.
I think it's a hard job to do. No one has succeeded in Cleveland ever, but he's gonna get a chance.
Yeah. Gavin, do you think Sam Darnold goes to Cleveland?
I think I think that it's Darnold, but I've also been hearing lately that Josh Allen has been linked to them. But in this close to the draft, you hear so many false reports.
Yeah.
And so I still think that it's Darnold. I originally thought that they might have taken Barkley here at number 1 and gone with quarterback at 4, but with the recent trades of people moving up into the 3 spot, the 5 spot, and then some rumors of even the Giants trading out. Those teams are moving in for a quarterback, and so if you like one of the signal callers, you got to go with one of them. So I'm going with Darnold for my pick.
Yeah, and with Cleveland having Dorsey, a relatively new GM there, I wouldn't think that he would want to go way out of line on this. It would be such a Cleveland move to reach and draft a guy like Josh Allen, and the second it doesn't work out, everyone's going to point to the Browns and laugh like they always do. Sam Darnold seems to be the clear number 1 overall prospect. Everything makes sense for him to go there. I would draft Darnold 1. I think it would be a huge mistake not to. So I'm with you guys. We all agree on our number 1 overall pick. What about number 2? Who do you have going to the Giants, Stoyo?
I have the Giants trading out of this pick, actually.
Ooh.
I have I think that the Bills are going to make a trade and try and move up into the number 2 spot and get the quarterback of the future. They didn't sign AJ McCarron to a long deal or an expensive deal, which makes me think that they don't believe in him as being their future, but is a good bridge quarterback. So they already have the number 12 and 22 picks in the first round of this year, so they could trade a couple other mid-round picks to the Bills, to the Giants this year, and move up from 5 to 2. And so I have them going number 2, and I have them taking Josh Allen.
Do you think that would be a good decision for both teams, or do you think it's a smart decision for one or the other?
I think it's a great move for the Giants. I mean, they seem to be sticking with Eli.
Yeah.
They're not wanting to go with a quarterback, and it's always good to acquire more picks. Unless you need a guy where you're at, it's definitely a good idea to acquire more picks. And they can get number 5, so they only move back a few spots. And they have a pretty good idea of what positions are going to be taken in between. So it shouldn't be an issue there. And then they also get an additional first-round pick. So
Yeah.
So I think that's a smart move. I'm sorry, it's number 12 and 22.
Yeah, okay. Stoyo, who do you have the Giants? What do you have the Giants doing at number 2? Go.
I have the Giants drafting Bradley Chubb.
Ooh.
I think the Giants are not going to draft a QB.
Yeah.
I would be tempted to, but I still believe in Eli. Eli is 37. He possibly has a couple more years, maybe even 3 left. So they're going to ride him as long as they can. So they're going to get a stud defensive end to replace Jason Pierre-Paul.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask. You move on from Pierre-Paul. That would make some sense to draft a defensive end in Bradley Chubb. It's supposed to be the best defensive end available in the draft. On my mock top 10, I have the Giants taking Josh Rosen at number 2. I think that they think he's the next quarterback. They want to get someone in there. Eli didn't have a great year last year, and they don't want a repeat of last year. And so they want to get a young guy in case Eli is done. And Josh Rosen would probably be the second best quarterback available. I think that multiple franchises are very quarterback thirsty, and so if there's a quarterback available, you got to take them. So we'll see. So we all have different number 2s. The third pick for the Jets, Stoya, who do you have the Jets taking at 3?
I have the Jets taking Josh Rosen.
Ooh, nice.
I think that's who they want.
Yeah.
And I think that's who they're going to draft. That's a lot better situation than Cleveland for Mr. Rosen. I think he has decent talent. He's my second QB of the draft, and it's a pick that makes sense. If you trade up, you're definitely going after a QB. I don't see the Jets drafting a running back, even though Saquon Barkley is really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. Gavin, who do you have the Jets taking at 3?
I also have them taking Josh Rosen.
Nice.
They definitely traded up for a quarterback, and I think he's the best prospect available on the board. The Bills, with taking Josh Allen, going on potential, and they have a bridge quarterback in place. And actually, all 3 of these teams will have bridge quarterbacks that are picked in the top 3 of this mock. With McCown still being in New York, they can have a little time to groom Josh Rosen, to be hopefully the next franchise quarterback for the Jets.
Yeah, I think Josh McCown is a perfect bridge quarterback, and they also have Teddy Bridgewater, who's a bit of a project. I have the Jets taking with Josh Rosen already off the board. I think the Jets maybe reaching a little bit here, taking Baker Mayfield as number 3 out of Oklahoma. But I think they're quarterback thirsty like the rest of the league, and if Rosen and Darnold are off the board, I think that's who the Jets would take. I think they like Mayfield better than the other prospects. So you guys both say Rosen. I say Baker Mayfield. Regardless, we all know the Jets are taking a quarterback at 3. Number 4 is the Browns. Stoyo, who do you have the Browns taking at 4?
I have the Browns trading that pick to Buffalo.
Nice.
And Buffalo is going to draft Josh Allen.
That would be, well, on yours, that would be 3 quarterbacks in a row, or 3 quarterbacks to the top 4. And yeah, the Bills do seem aggressive, and they do seem to want Josh Allen. So that could be a pretty reasonable guess. What do you think, Gavin? What do you have at 4?
I have the Browns keeping their pick, and I have them taking Saquon Barkley. They're going to need someone in the running game to be able to help out both Tyrod Taylor for the start of the year, and then also someone to be able to lean on with Sam Darnold in the years moving forward. So talent like Barkley, I think that he's worth it here at number 4.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that you guys cheated and looked at my sheet. You guys are trying to copy me. At 4, I have the Browns taking running back Saquon Barkley. You can't. I mean, you want to turn your franchise around quick. You want to make a splash and a statement. Take Sam Darnold and Saquon Barkley, and you got a whole new offense to run in Cleveland. That's the route I would go. But I have the Browns taking Saquon Barkley unless the Bills give them an offer they can't refuse. And the Bills are obviously wanting to trade up, and I'm with you, Stoyo. If the Bills do trade up to 4, they would take Josh Allen. With the 5th pick is the Denver Broncos. Where do you see Denver going on this, Gavin?
I see Denver trying to beef up their offensive line, get some protection for Case Keenum. He had a good offensive line and some great weapons in Minnesota, and he was able to thrive there. So I think they're going to try and replicate that. So I have them taking Quentin Nelson, the guard out of Notre Dame.
Boo.
Boo!
Stay away from Quentin Nelson. You guys don't need him.
Boo-hiss.
No, I agree. Quentin Nelson's the best offensive lineman in the draft. Anyone that takes Quentin Nelson's going to be happy, I would think. So that would be a good pick for Denver. Who do you have the Broncos taking at 5, Stoyo?
I have the Broncos taking Baker Mayfield.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
and
I mean,
I think that's a bad pick for him. But
well, Elway.
John Elway loves to draft QBs.
Yeah, that would be a little bit of a reach, and they have Case Keenum there, so Keenum could be a decent bridge quarterback, so that could be an option. The resident Broncos fan that I know wants to take a quarterback, doesn't care who, just wants the best available quarterback at 5. I do not, however, believe the Broncos will take a quarterback, and I still have the best defensive player in the draft sitting there available, and that's Bradley Chubb. So I think the Broncos go defense once again and would draft Bradley Chubb with the 5th pick.
Draymond Miller would be interesting.
Yeah,
Squad.
yeah, that would be nasty. And
Pretty dynamic.
And Denver, Elway likes, he believes in defense, and that's how he won his championship as a GM. So I could see that. With the 6th pick, the Colts are sitting at 6. Stoyo, where do you see Indy going?
I have Saquon Barkley going to the Colts.
That would be.
And that's a big drop. I thought he possibly could have been a top 3 pick, but with so many QB available, a bunch of QBs went ahead of him.
Yeah. It's weird how Barkley's stock seems to be falling, but I don't think it's because of lack of talent. It's just because of the need for quarterbacks. Gavin, who do you have Indy taking?
Yeah, I have the Colts taking Bradley Chubb here.
Nice.
They need as much help as they can get on defense. That's always been, or for the last 2 decades, that's been one of the weakest part of their game. They have a all-pro quarterback, assuming that he's healthy. Now they need to hopefully get an all-pro defensive end to put some pressure on the opposing quarterback.
Nice. Yep. Either way they go here, the Colts need as much help as they can get to build around Luck and those guys. So hopefully the Colts turn it around quick. I have the Colts taken at number 6, still available, the best offensive lineman. I was hoping that he would fall to Chicago, but I have Notre Dame guard Quentin Nelson going to the Colts. They obviously want to protect Andrew Luck, so that should be, in my opinion, their number 1 need. But we'll see. We'll see what Indy is going to do there. At number 7 is the Tampa Bay Bucks. Gavin, who do you have Tampa taking at 7?
I have them taking Derwin James, the safety out of Florida State. I know a lot of people might wonder why Minka Fitzpatrick isn't the first safety taken. Probably maybe a little bit more versatile. Mm-hmm. But there's been reports that there's been a number of GMs that have Derwin James rated ahead of Fitzpatrick. And the Bucs need a lot of help in the secondary, and a dominant safety can certainly help with that.
Yeah, absolutely. That was part of the reason they struggled so much last year. They need help on defense to keep teams from putting up 30-plus on them. Stoyo, who do you have Tampa taking at 7?
I agree with Gavin that the Bucs need help defensively.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to pick Fitzpatrick.
Nice.
Because he's a Bama safety, and he had great success in the past. Could be the next Eddie Jackson.
Nice. I like your guys' thinking. We are all on the same page. I'm going to disagree with you, Stoyo. I got to go my Florida State safety, Derwin James. I think he's the better of the 2 options. I don't think that you can go wrong with either Fitzpatrick or Derwin James. But James being a Florida guy, those Florida guys the Florida franchises seem to like to take the Florida draft pick. So I'm going to go Derwin James to Tampa Bay. Regardless, if Tampa takes a safety, it'll be a good move. Number 8.
Point out, Alabama safety is even more reason for the Bucs to take Derwin James, because the last Alabama safety they took, Mark Barron, was only there for like 2 or 3 years, and now doesn't even play safety anymore. So,
yeah.
What do you think about that, Stoyo?
Have you seen Eddie Jackson last season? He's the only NFL player to return 2 touchdowns for over 75 yards from Bama.
I think, Gavin, I think Barron is the exception to the rule. I would also point out Landon Collins from Bama as a successful safety. So, but yeah, Tampa needs to not miss on their draft pick. Number 8. The all-important draft pick. The other ones, they matter, but this one really matters. The Bears. We need to upgrade our team. Stoyo, who do you have the Bears taking at number 8?
The Bears are taking Quentin Nelson. He's going to be reunited with his college offensive line coach.
Yeah.
And the Bears are going to have an all-pro guard for the next decade.
Something about teaming up Quentin Nelson with Kyle Long and those guys. I feel that. I want that. I have the Colts taking him, but hopefully Indy outthinks themselves. I hope they're too smart for their own good and they take someone else. Who do you have the Bears taking at 8, Gavin?
I have them taking the most obvious selection, Baker Mayfield. They've given up on Mitch Trubisky. new regime. Time to move on. I have them taking Denzel Ward, the cornerback out of Ohio State.
Nice.
As much as it pains me to have another guy for Stafford to have to throw around, they're definitely needing some cornerback help. They did re-sign Prince Amukamara, but I think you guys still need some help there in your secondary. And Ward's a very highly touted prospect.
Yeah, you read my mind, Gavin. I want Quentin Nelson. That's who I would pick if I'm the Bears if he falls to us. But I have him going earlier, so I have the Bears taking Denzel Ward, corner from Ohio State. I think that he is due for success in the NFL. He's a good fit, and I would love to team him up with Kyle Fuller and Amukamara and get our defense back on top where it belongs. If not Denzel Ward, there's been rumors that we would take linebacker Tremaine Edmonds from Virginia Tech. If we're going to take a linebacker, I would rather take Roquan Smith out of Georgia, honestly. But I have him taking a corner. At 9, the 49ers. Who do you have the Niners taking, Gavin?
I have them taking Minka Fitzpatrick.
Nice.
He still makes it into the top 10. San Francisco still needs some help in their secondary, even though they signed Richard Sherman.
Yep.
But and Fitzpatrick is definitely a talented player and deserves to be a top 10 pick.
Yeah, can't go wrong there. Niners continue to build that defense. What do you think, Stoyo?
I have Tremaine Edmonds going to the Niners.
Nice.
He has a lot of potential. He's 19 years old, and I hope the Bears don't draft him.
Yeah.
Because I'm so sick of drafting projects in the top 10. So I want a guaranteed player that can produce right away.
Exactly. Keep Tremaine Edmonds out of Chicago. If we're going to take a linebacker, I want Roquan Smith. He's a hard-hitting linebacker. He just seems like the better fit. I agree with you, Stoyo. Edmonds seems a bit like a project. At 9, I have the Niners taking defensive end Marcus Davenport. I think that they can use some help on the line, and we all agree that the Niners get some defensive help. And to round out the top 10, Stoyo, who do you have the Raiders taking?
I have the Raiders taking Marcus Davenport.
Nice. Yeah, we all seem to be pretty much agreeing with who's going top 10. Who do you have, Gavin?
I have Vita Vea, the tackle from Washington.
Nice.
The Raiders were trying to bring in Ndamukong Suh, but then backed out when they realized that he was just trying to use them for leverage. So they're definitely looking to bolster their defensive line, and I think they try and help their run game by getting a big guy like Vea. He's a little bit more than just a run stuffer. He can get to the quarterback a little bit too, so I think that's a versatility that Gruden's going to look for on defense.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see where Gruden goes with his first pick back in Oakland. I have him taking linebacker Roquan Smith. But if I hope that, I don't know, we'll see how it goes. That could be a good pick for Oakland. Other notable expected draft picks. I have the Bills taking Josh Allen regardless of what pick they have. If they stay at 12 and hope that he drops to them, they would definitely take him at 12. Stoyo, do you see Josh Allen falling all the way to 12, or do you think the Bills should definitely move up to make sure they get a quarterback?
Well, I have him at 4.
Yeah.
I have them moving up to 4 to get him, so that's what I think is going to happen.
Do you think if they stayed at 12, Josh Allen would drop to them?
No way.
Yeah. See, that's the risk. What do you think, Gavin?
Yeah, I don't think that he makes it there.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll see. I think the Bills are definitely intent on moving up. And the Browns at 4 could definitely be a trade option. Even the Broncos at 5, maybe the Colts at 6. So, At the 14th pick, the Packers, I have them taking corner Mike Hughes out of UCF. They just lost Demarius Randall, and their defense could use some help. Stoyo, I'm sure you don't care who the Packers take here.
I had them taking Josh Jackson
Yeah.
because they needed corner help.
Yeah, they definitely need corner help. But I mean, I would be worried too if I'm Green Bay. I'd boost up my corners because Mitch Trubisky is about to be slinging it all over Lambeau.
Allen Robinson, dude, he's gonna
Yep.
burn some people.
No more Aaron Rodgers. It's Trubisky time. Gavin, do you care who the Packers take at 14?
I care, but I hope that they take someone that gets. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. But I hope that it doesn't pan out, but not for injury issues.
You know, I heard that 50-year-old Brett Favre is available if they want to draft him.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron Rodgers was hurt like all last year, right? They could have used Favre.
Yep, exactly.
I think they go with a secondary. I think that Jackson's a good pick, especially with his improved 40 time at his pro day after a really pathetic time for a cornerback at the combine. So I think that Jackson is definitely a possibility, either him or Alexander out of Louisville.
Nice.
Definitely, I think definitely in the secondary.
Yeah. At 16, I get the feeling this might be, you guys might not agree with this. I think the Ravens are looking to upgrade their receiving core to help out Joe Flacco. And I think that they would be interested in bringing in Calvin Ridley out of Alabama. Stoyo, do you think that's too high?
No, that's about what he should go.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be a decent receiver. I'm not sure he's going to be a number one. He's definitely going to be a good number two. And yeah, he should be a mid first round pick to bottom first round pick, but should not be a top 10.
Yeah. Yeah, I got him going right in the middle of the first round. What do you think, Gavin? Do you think that would be a good pick for the Ravens?
Yeah, I think that he could be a good pick there. Receiver for sure should be a priority. I'm trying to get some weapons around Flacco because they haven't really had much. I know they did sign Crabtree, but having a good number two would be, a great choice. Crabtree's definitely thrived when there was another legitimate option across from him, and so maybe another Alabama receiver is just what he needs, like he had Amari Cooper.
Yeah, exactly. And then at 20, Gavin, I want to hear what you have Detroit doing with the 20th pick in the first round.
I have Detroit screwing it up at 20. But that's just the 30 years of being a Lions fan talking. I think we're going to try and address the defense. We really could use a player at just about every position. Ziggy Ansah and Darius Slay are definitely the two best players. We did re-sign our safety, so I think either a number two corner, maybe Josh Jackson if he slides, or Alexander from Louisville, or possibly a defensive lineman. I'm thinking maybe Deron Payne from Alabama. We get two Alabama tackles with Sean Robinson there in Detroit. Could be just what we need to help get some more pressure on the opposing quarterbacks.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Detroit does. Do you think they should go defense, though?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't think there's we do need some help. We didn't re-sign our center. He actually just signed today. But Swanson, he had too many injuries, I think, and we were worried he wouldn't be on the field. So I think the tackle's definitely in the need. We've signed some linebackers, we've signed some cornerbacks, so I'm thinking that it's going to be in the trenches that we end up making a signing.
Nice. What do you think, Stoyo? Who do you think the Lions take at 20?
I have the Lions giving Charles Rodgers a second chance and redrafting him at 20.
Jokes.
Ha ha ha. No, I have the Lions drafting Harold Landry from Boston College.
I like Harold Landry. I'll be on record for that. I think that he'll have success in the NFL level.
I agree as well. I hope he doesn't go there.
Yeah.
I hope he mess it up and draft like a random running back that doesn't pan out as usual.
Yeah, speaking of running backs, I had the Lions going either tackle Mike McGlinchey out of Notre Dame to help with the line, or a possibility is running back Darius Geis out of LSU. Do any of those? Uh, do you like any of those possibilities, Gavin?
I like McGlinchey as a prospect, but
Yeah.
I don't think that would be the best choice for the Lions. We did have some offensive line issues, but we also had a lot of injuries. Taylor Decker missed the majority of the year, and Ricky Wagner also dealt with some injuries as well. So I don't think that should be the position that we address. I think we should try and fill the gaps that are left in free agency or on our defense. So. And running back, we definitely need something, but I would rather spend a first round pick somewhere else. I don't think there's a running back that's worth the number 22 pick,
Yeah.
and so that's why I would opt for a defense or number 20 pick. Excuse me, forgot we didn't make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, and running backs, so, you can usually find a serviceable running back in the third or fourth round. But Detroit definitely needs to find a running back there soon to end that drought of running game. And then we've talked about 4 of the 5 quarterbacks that would go, but we haven't yet talked about Lamar Jackson, the most intriguing quarterback option of them all. Where do you have Lamar Jackson going in the draft, Stoyo?
I have Lamar Jackson going to the Steelers at 28.
Nice.
Big Ben is getting old, so to take a flyer on Lamar Jackson and see what they can do.
That would be interesting, seeing him in Steeler gear. I think he can definitely be a dynamic weapon. We'll just see if his skills translate and if he can hang on to the ball. Turnovers will kill you at any level. What do you think, Gavin? Where do you have Lamar Jackson going?
I have him going actually one pick before the Steelers, going to New Orleans.
Ooh.
We got another quarterback that has had a great career but is getting up there in age. I think the big difference, though, is that you have Sean Payton in New Orleans that I think is a better opportunity to being coached up. And he'll be able to sit behind Drew Brees, who probably has another year or two. But if they can spend that time working on Jackson and working on his accuracy issues and his mechanics, they could see little to no drop off by the time Drew Brees retires.
Nice, yeah. Those are both interesting picks. You guys both went veteran quarterbacks who could be on the way out soon. I looked at a team that has a quarterback, but do they really? He's an interesting fit. They just re-signed him, but is he worth it and will he pan out long term? I have Lamar Jackson going 29th to the Jaguars as a possible number 2 option for Blake Bortles, or if Bortles doesn't pan out, maybe Jackson can get in there. Plus, he could be used as a specialty player and on some end arounds and some trick plays for the Jaguars. What do you guys
I have
think?
another idea.
Yeah.
How about he goes to the Patriots and
Yeah.
sits behind Brady for like 2 or 3 seasons?
Yeah, that's not a bad option. New England, I had heard that the Patriots were looking at getting a quarterback to replace Garoppolo as the number 2. So Jackson could be a good fit there, and um, we'll see if he would like that kind of system, the no nonsense Bill Belichick run Patriots. What do you think, Gavin?
I think this happens with just about every prospect. That's like, well, where does he fit?
Uh-huh.
Tim Tebow should have been a tight end for the Patriots. I heard a dozen times each week leading up to the draft, or every time he got cut. But I don't know that necessarily that's going to be the case. They have too many holes to fill, I think, in order to keep playing to win in this window with Tom Brady. They lost both their tackles. They just traded away their number 1 receiver. There's the possibility, though I don't see it happening, but that Gronk could not be there. So I think there's a lot of pieces that need to go in place in order to give the weapons that Tom Brady needs, and also get to the quarterback. They had struggled so much last year in order to put pressure on the opposing quarterback, and I think they realize they can't just rely on Tom Brady to pull them out of every game. So I think that there's too many positions in order to take a backup quarterback.
Yep. And we'll get more into it as we get closer to the draft. It's going to be very interesting. We'll see if any more former coaches throw their player under the bus on the route to the draft. Again, less than 4 weeks away, and we'll have a more complete mock draft, and we'll get more in depth as we get closer to the draft. And we hope you keep listening. Thanks to the loyal listeners. Don't forget to subscribe, like, or leave a comment. And have a good one. We'll be back next week. Thanks, Stoyo and Gavin, again for coming on. And we'll keep pumping out episodes for you guys and keep the excitement of the NFL. Keep covering it. So thanks again for coming on. Another successful week. And don't forget to check out our player interview of former Bear and former Dolphin safety Cameron Worrell. And we'll have more guests as we go along. Thanks again, and peace out.